All right, this is George Hall with the Talkin podcast, and this week we've got Rob Koral, guitarist for Zoe Schwartz and the Blue Commotion. How you doing, Rob?
Very well, George. Thanks.
Good, good stuff. Yeah, it's nice to get you on here actually, because you're a guitarist that is pretty local to me. I'm based in Weymouth. Whereabouts are you based again?
We live in Poole. I live in Poole, just down the
Cool.
road.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's close enough for us to swim in similar waters, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we can.
So yeah, it's nice to get you on here. We did meet in person, didn't we? Probably a good 3, 4, 5 weeks ago now. A local gig, and we had a little chat then.
Yep.
So how's it going, Rob? Is it like musically? What are you up to?
We're doing our thing, Zoe Schwartz, Blue Commotion, and we travel far and wide. And yeah, next year's starting to look pretty good too. So we're keeping the pot boiling, keeping the interest up, keeping busy, keeping working on it, keep practicing, and just enjoying doing it. That's the main thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty good.
That's it. When we had a chat the other day, you brought up some really insightful stuff and connected to what you just said about traveling around, doing gigs, outside of your hometown, and that really just keeping the momentum up and the interest for you. And I remember you sort of saying that and saying that, you've witnessed people who just stay in their hometown and only do gigs there, and they kind of get stuck. And it seems for you, you've been playing for years, but you're still pushing yourself to get out and play different places.
It's a cycle I've seen so many times of people with lots of talent, but they kind of view the world with, I don't know, a 10-mile radius around their doorstep, and every single time it doesn't work, and they burn out, kind of. Unfortunately, I just moved to London fairly early on. I don't know how many years I've been playing then. Let me just think. I've been playing 4, 5, 6 years, and I moved to London. We all, before you're probably ready too. I mean, I had the chops, but I didn't have the experience, and you just have to keep putting yourself in an environment where it just challenges you, I think. Otherwise, you go round and round the same little circuit, and you just get worn out because you lose stimulation, and there's no fresh input, and nobody outside your radius really notices too much what you're doing. So I just jumped for it and hung in there, and lived in London for 20 years. So my footprints are all over the place.
Yeah.
So I've got a great musicians to call on, and who are friends, and so I've got a wide circle of players and experience, and I still call on it, all the time.
Yeah.
Lean on it. So that's my philosophy anyway.
Yeah, right. No, I really like your philosophy. I think it's so important, and I've lived away. I only lived in London for 4 years, but it was long enough to get out and see a little bit more of what there is to be offered musically. If you just stay in one space, and I think I like you. When I moved there, I don't think I was necessarily ready. I wasn't a formed musician at that point. I was still very much kind of learning the ropes, and had come from a small town, and thought that I was pretty good, and I'd moved there, and then all of a sudden my world went from this to like this, and you know, you really see the scope of musicianship that's out there, and it was really necessary and eye opening, I think, for me to get up there and experience some of that stuff. So what was your London experiences like? I know you were there for 2 decades, so it's probably going to be hard to encapsulate it all. But what was it like in your earlier days being there through to, being established there a bit more?
Let me see. So the early days. I remember the day that I moved there, or we moved there, and the very first day, Jim Mullen was playing down the road somewhere, and I wanted to go to the gig straight away. For whatever reason, that didn't happen, but it was just enthusiasm. It was just confidence of youth. I don't know. I just got stuck in straight away. Did okay. Got hooked up with an agent very, very quickly to do a circuit of. It was something like Watney's pub circuit. It was some kind of thing like that. That was like 5-6 nights a week. And duo gigs, I think, mostly. But so played, full on pretty early on. Actually, as I'm saying this, I'm remembering I got a day job to start with, just to be able to get a place to live, actually buy a place. So I worked as a draftsman in Twickenham and played by night. And I remember getting really ill from being intense, playing, working in the day, and just burning the candle both ends. It doesn't matter if you're 19 years old or 20 years old, you still wear yourself out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That though, and then made the big transition to full-time playing in 1984, February the 10th. I remember the day; it was a big day for me. And by that time, I'd already appeared on shows like the Old Grey Whistle Test, 2 live sessions for the BBC, Radio 2, Maida Vale. So was burning a very intense torch, really determined to do really well. So chucked myself into it in the deep end.
Yeah.
Played with lots of great players.
Yeah.
It's all my friends that I play with now, because we still play together.
Right. That's amazing. So that's what moving to London can do, though, can't it? Is that you get opportunities that you wouldn't necessarily get if you never left your small hometown.
Oh, you get an energy. I mean, it's like swimming with all those guys. I mean, if you're not stimulated by that and inspired by that, then you're not going to be.
Yeah.
I've moved back to where I came from for various reasons, slightly beyond my control. But of course, I've hooked up with many of my old friends, but unbelievably to me, they're still doing the same gigs they were doing all those years ago.
Right.
Not being rude, and not playing any better than they did then.
Yeah.
You don't need to, I guess. They've
Sure.
got no fresh in. I'm being a bit harsh, but I mean that is the reality of it, I think.
Yeah. No, I think it's okay to say stuff like that, because you're not taking a personal dig at any one person. It's more of a scene, and it's more of a sort of collective consciousness
about how it works, I think, from my point of view, because I've seen it so many times. I've just seen that thing, and I've also seen musicians have their 3-year patch of. Even in the general scene, a 3-year patch of being really popular, being the name for 3 years, and then, I guess you've got to keep reinventing yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I've had friends and people that I know that have done well over a shorter period of time, and um, I think for me, some of it comes down to what are the initial reasons you're actually doing this for? You
Yeah.
know, because for me, I can't imagine doing anything else because this is what I love doing, but it's the only thing that I'm good at. And I'm not in it for any sort of sense of fame or fortune or anything like that. I'm doing this because I love it. I'm good at it, and it's what drives me. It's a big part of me. But if I've seen people who you know do this for 2 or 3 years, get a lucky break, and then when that starts to peter out for whatever reason, if your foundation of the reasons as to what you're doing this for isn't strong enough,
Yeah.
then inevitably it's gonna fizzle, and you're gonna start looking at that job that you could get at your friend's company working for them online or something, and you go, oh, do you know what? I'm actually going to just take that safer option just there because
Mm.
I've had enough of doing this because,
Mm.
you know, your foundations aren't there.
Yeah. Well, for me, the drive to communicate to people what I'm about, what you've got to say. Depends how strong that is. That's what you're saying. Well, for me, it's crazy. I'm like a bloody machine in some ways, but yeah, I just want. Yeah, I've just got that need to express stuff. You know,
Mm.
without words, obviously through how you play, whether it
Yeah,
whether it's aggressive or it's elegant or it's you've got to say what you've got to say.
yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah,
but at the same time, though, if I play a gig down the road, wherever, the Inn on the Park where we met by accident the other day,
yeah,
that's super important too. Every time you play, it should be super important. You shouldn't put um, one gig higher in your. I mean, you've got to put 100% into every gig. That's what I'm trying to say. And it is
yeah,
important if you've got 25 people there listening to you, or 75, or 105, whatever it is, they're all as equally important to me.
sure.
And those people that come specially, they're super important. Every time it should be right up there for you. 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean, and
So
I actually.
I get off each time. I get off on it. If it's 30 people enjoying what you're doing, or yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, well, I think coming at it like from this angle for me, like I've had gigs in the past or time periods where I haven't done that, where I haven't appreciated it or haven't tapped into the energy in the room and been present and really, gave myself to the moment. I've had that.
Yeah.
And I think that was for reasons, other reasons in my life that
Yeah.
were dragging me out of that,
Yeah. That can happen.
getting present. Yeah, it can. And I mean, at the moment, I'm whenever I'm doing gigs like yourself, I'm really just trying to absorb the moment and be there and try and connect with people and really just because it's something that can almost be whether you're a spiritual person or not, it's by the by, but I think it can be an experience that's akin to that where you're all just in this moment together.
Yes. Yes. what helps you maintain that positivity though is to have things happen, to get certain bookings from time to time that really lift you, and you think, oh, I want more of that, I need more of that. Having said all the things I've just said, I don't put myself into a room where I hope there's an audience, I hope there's some people there that are into what we're doing. I don't do that. I don't want to be booked at a place that happens to have music every Friday night, and I need to know that the audience is going to be there for what we do.
Right. Okay.
I don't just go to a random place and play, because that's probably not going to work for what we do.
Right.
Sense to you?
Yeah.
In other words, let me think of a way of thinking of putting this. We either play in a club that caters for the kind of general music that we play, or even if it's a local gig like in on the Park where we met again. So that is a music club on a Monday night. So people aren't going to go there and be shocked to find there's music happening. They're going there because there is music happening.
Yeah.
To draw the line somewhere. So I'm sure you're the same. You know, you're going to put yourself into a venue where you've got a chance of playing to people.
Absolutely.
That music. You know, I don't just accept a gig because it's a gig.
Yeah.
I'm quite careful about where we play.
Right. Well, that's only going to keep your motivation going, isn't it? And you've probably learned that through years of trial and error of turning up at places, and then, you know, the energy being off and you not connecting with the people there because there's a guy playing a fruit machine in the corner, and another couple of guys saying, "Can you play some song that's not even slightly related to the music that you're doing?" Which always doesn't shock me, but shocks me at the same time when I've just finished playing a blues guitar solo, and then someone goes, "Oh, that was really great. Can you play this Stereophonics tune that I love?" And I'm like, "Where did that come from? Like, did you just hear what we were just doing?" Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah. No, I earned the right to not be in that situation a long time ago, if I'm allowed to say that. So, and I'm good at sensing, you know, that no, this doesn't feel right. You know, this gig offer doesn't feel right, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you've been playing a long time, and you've got the right to be picky with what it is that you're doing, and I think that'll only, you know, stands you in better stead, doesn't it? Because like you just said a minute ago, it is like a feedback loop, you know, of the gigs that you're doing that you want to be doing. That's only going to propel you further in lots of different ways with your energy and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm keen to find out, because I met you and Zoe
jam in the Belvedere.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about how long ago. Maybe a year or so ago, maybe.
Just about a year.
Yeah. So something like that. And
I can't think how that came about, but I think we just got invited, or yeah. You got up and played with Zoe, I think.
Yeah, we did a song or two of just a 12 bar of some description, and I met you both, and I'd heard of you guys before, and I'd seen posters around and bits online, and because I found out, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you guys are together. You're in a relationship.
Yeah.
And you know, so you're together, and how did that come about? Like, when you first started playing together, how long back are we going here, and how did
21 years ago? Zoe had moved into the area and wanted an accompanist, and she asked somebody and suggested me. So within a few days, we did a gig somewhere, and that's how that came about. And then, yeah, and it just grew from there. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. So
and
it started off as. Sorry, Rob.
It just kept growing. You know what we did. It just kept growing, and then we made an album, and then kind of a demo album, and the next album we did was on a record label called 33 Records, and we made 3 or 4 albums on there. We played at places like Ronnie's. The first club date we played out of the area was, I know it was a jazz club in Coventry. I remember that. Then we went to places like Saltburn Blues Club and that, way up by Newcastle and stuff. And we just got on that thing that we've already talked about, you know. So, and it's continued since then.
Yeah. Wow. So just sort of talking about that then. So you started off as a duo. Did you start out doing sort of blues based music, or did it start off a bit different?
Started off differently. We started off doing jazz standards, just guitar.
Right.
Billie Holiday, which Zoe sings really, really brilliantly well. And then a particular bass player we were playing with in one situation, it was obviously a trio, said, God, there's a lot of bluesy element in what you do, and how Zoe sings, so we should do a blues band. And it started, went from there into that. And of course I grew up playing that and understand that music inside out, so it wasn't strange for me. And then that would have been about 2007.
Right.
And yeah, so we had a lineup with Hammond organ, bass guitar, drums, harmonica, guitar, myself obviously, drums, bass guitar, Hammond, harmonica, and myself and Zoe. That 6-piece lineup, and that was very expensive.
Yeah.
So we trimmed it down after a few years to the traditional Hammond organ trio: guitar, drums, and Hammond, and then with Zoe, the cherry on the top, singing. And we play original music, original songs, and we solo as long and hard as we want. So we don't compromise at all.
Yeah.
On our gigs. Yeah. So hence me not wanting to be in situations that are not going to accommodate that.
Sure. Yeah. I can definitely see why you wouldn't. I mean, you go into all these lengths to play your original music, which is something different in of itself. You know, from just doing covers only.
Yeah.
And then you're all improvising. Yeah. So you're really, you need an environment that are conducive to that. It's
yes.
got to be.
Yes.
It's got to be working with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you know yourself, that's the extra mile you've got to go to be in that environment, and you've got to really push for it, and you've got to be resilient, and you've got to be tough, and you've got to be good too.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to get on with people, and do all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
a whole package. So I've got loads of experience of all that, I've got to say.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing you mentioned as well, isn't it? You've got to get along with people, and you've got to be a people person to a degree. I mean, I know I'm a bit introverted. Sorry, Rob, you cut out there, mate.
Oh, sorry. Especially this day and age, you've got to tick all those boxes.
Yeah.
Can't be a prima donna or, a load of trouble to deal with, because there's plenty of people that are not, that are also really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I agree. You've got to be able to get along with people to a degree, and do simple things like turn up on time and all the rest of it. Little skills that are sometimes lost on even some really great players that I've worked with over the years.
Yeah.
You know, you must have experienced that yourself, where you've got a rehearsal studio booked at 2 o'clock and someone turns up at 2:30 or 3 o'clock, and you're like, what? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Would you turn up to a day job at 2:30 expecting to keep your job? You know?
No. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
absolutely. So, um, like, so that's a little bit, I suppose. That's interesting. I didn't know that you and Zoe had played together that long. You know, from 21 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And
And also playing in that really stripped back environment, just guitar and a voice, no loopers and nothing, just a guitar and
yeah,
a voice. You really learn to connect. So people can tell whenever they hear us, they go, "Are you two together?" You know, because
mm,
that connection obviously shows. And
yeah,
so we rehearse. Do you know? I'll tell you something. We've, as a band, we've never rehearsed.
right,
What we've done though, because we are so stretched out around the country anyway. So um, Paul, that is on all of our studio albums, lives in Cambridge. Pete lives in Willesden. Um, so what we've done when we've been in the studio to record an album, we literally run the songs and then record them. We just
right,
do them live. You know, so we rehearse in the studio. Really, we rehearse by playing together in the studio, and we have 2 days recording, and we've done a lot of
wow,
that. So our connections just through that, and then we go to the gigs and play the tunes, and then we've got the sound check, of course. If we're going to run a new tune, or run a tune we've not played live, but we've obviously recorded, and they're great players and they're very experienced players, and that's how we do it.
that's how you do it. Yeah,
How we do
I
it.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's a. I mean, I can definitely identify with that. I mean, with my own band, I've got a about three different sets of drummers and bass players that I work with, and we've had a handful of rehearsals over the years, and they've been. It's like I'll send the guys the tunes before they'll know what they're doing, because, like you said, you know, you generally work with people that can pick this stuff up um,
Yeah.
quickly and interpret it in their own way, and that's one of the things that I love playing with several different groups of people, is that every drummer that you play with, every bass player that you play with, bring their own energy in their
Yeah.
own way of delivering the same
Yeah.
thing, and
Yeah.
it's like, you know, I've got a drummer that I'm working with at the moment that's a little bit more on this sort of jazz side of things, and
Mm.
then the other drummer that I'm working with is a little bit more straight ahead and a little bit more sort of
Yeah.
coming from a bit more of a rock sort of background, and totally different feels. But I kind of look forward to working with both in different ways. I'm like, oh, I've got Dave on that gig, or oh, I've got, you know, Richie on that gig, or whatever, and it's just different each time.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes
Um,
sense. Yeah, we cherry pick the guys, guys or gals, mostly guys, that fit what we want to do. You know, and we're quite fussy, I guess, about that. Drummers have got a swing for me. Even you're not playing swing music, but they still got a swing. And if you do a straightforward up shuffle, it's got a swing. It can't plod. It can't plod. Can't be lumpy. It can't be like the Queen Mary sailing through a sea of Mars bars. You know, it's got a swing.
yeah,
So but here we are doing our
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
You have to come to a gig at some point.
100%. I really do. I really want to catch a full gig of you guys, because it would be, yeah, it would be great to see you guys doing your thing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think when we'll be back in this area. We're at the lighthouse once a year in Poole. Would be, yeah. There's various things, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we only play in the area once or twice with the band, but yeah,
Right.
there'll be chances. There'll be chances.
Do you find, so where you are going around to lots of different parts of the country, and you said, oh, you'll only play like once or twice in a given area?
Yeah.
So is that over the course of like do you do that over the course of a year or 6 months or so, or how do you sort of approach it?
You we're playing we're playing the Dorset area. Let me think. It's 6 monthly or year cycle, either a 6 months
Right.
or year cycle, and the promoters want it that way too. And it makes sense, doesn't it? You can't split the audience, so you can't be seen to be playing down the road for free and then play at the lighthouse for a ticket price.
Sure.
A week later, it's not going to work
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you turn up in different areas, on that cycle. Usually a year for us, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So that creates demand, I suppose, as well, because anybody that's gone to go see you in, a given area, they're not going to be able to see you in that area again for a while. So it has got an air of like exclusivity about it, because it's not like you're saying, oh, catch our band here every 2 or 3 months kind of thing, and people might think, oh well, we missed him this time, we'll catch him again in November or something.
Exactly.
It's a bit so that I can see why you do things that way round.
Yeah, definitely we do. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I've got a good feel, for a few things with the band and stuff, and found out some really interesting stuff. So thanks for sharing that, Rob. But what about you as a guitar player? Because I've seen you play, and I've seen you play online, and you tell me a little bit about like your approach to developing the sound that you've got, and because obviously you've been playing for years, so this has been a process that you would have refined and changed and whatever else over the years. But what sort of key influences have you got musically that have aided your sound?
Okay, so let me flip that and ask you, who do you think my core influences would be? I'm just curious if it shows, because who would you say? I'm curious.
Okay, right. So
I read something somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm picturing a lot of like what I would consider stuff from maybe the 60s and 70s that we'd all know, bands like Cream, that kind of thing. The stuff like the blues rock explosion of the 60s. I should imagine there'll be some influences there musically.
Okay, yeah.
And then I'm picturing non-guitar influences being quite a bit of an aid to your sound. Maybe horn players, perhaps. Maybe saxophonists with that sort of more legato approach to playing, so it's a bit more fluid. Did I get any right there?
Yeah, you did. So my three core initial core driving influences were early Eric Clapton, specifically 66, 67, 68. nothing post that, because that's a different version of the guy with the same name but a different person. So
Yeah,
so early Clapton, Jan Ackerman, Alan Holdsworth. There's my 3 core. And then on top of that, you can add Joe Pass for playing the duo situation. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
And then the sophistication of harmony, like, you know, so playing on changes, and that's a big part of what I do. So, you know, even a straight blues, I can't help but play on the changes. You know, I feel quite excited when I sometimes don't do that. I think, oh wow, you know. So it's those things. That's my influences. So yeah, the horn too, obviously playing on the changes and the flow, and that's important to me. I like to play pretty quick. You know, I like fast playing, as long as it's smooth and it's not sticky and stodgy and jagged and staccato.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I think from what you said, you know, with, you know, Alan Holdsworth and that kind of thing, I think that maybe like you can bring back that like non-guitar influence through even Alan Holdsworth, because he was a guitarist for sure, but I think he transcended like the idea that he was an amazing guitarist. To me, he was kind of, the notes he was playing and how he was playing it was coming at it from such a different angle.
Yeah. But actually, I used to go and watch him play every week in
right.
a pub in the Plough and Stock, not every week, but very regularly.
Yeah.
Doing his thing. There was a place called the Plough and Stockwell, and there's the Half Moon in Putney, and he would turn up quite regularly, and I would always go.
Yeah.
His playing comes from a very guitaristic rock guitar, sustaining, overdriven valve, and totally from that. So so through the 70s, you know, he came from the regular guitar thing. You've not heard any of that. So I first heard him on an album by Soft Machine called Bundles, and he plays this long 10-minute guitar solo, and he's got all occasional blues lick. He's got the sustaining feedback. Check him out on Tempest and all that stuff. He plays with a rock sound later on, so he got a rock sound, composes like a classical musician, improvises like a jazz musician, but his roots are very much the same as yours and mine.
Yeah.
So it's all there to check out. It's worth checking out. Check out an album by Tony Williams' Lifetime called Believe It. That is just
okay.
He's driving I don't know, an AC30 or something, full on. It's gorgeous.
Right.
His hold on a note on playing electric guitar is as beautiful as early Clapton. It's the same.
Yeah, love it. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I've Soft Machine, and I can't remember. Did they? I could be getting this wrong, but did they have like albums like numbered? So it's like Soft Machine 7 or Soft Machine something like that. I can't remember, but
I'm not sure.
Yeah, there was a great Soft Machine album that there was the one I did connect with. I think it was a number. It may come back to me, but yeah, and I did hear bits of Holdsworth just online with playing with Soft Machine live, and
he's playing an SG probably.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a white SG or something. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have seen him do things like that. Yeah. No, I totally know what you mean about him. You know, and I'm understanding of that rock background. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
100% that.
Yeah.
100% that. And the same year as that White SG stuff, he got invited to America by Tony Williams, the drummer, and he recorded that album, Believe It. And
Okay.
yeah, he's got loads of sustain on just by playing very loud,
Yeah.
It's
Right.
gorgeous. It's gorgeous playing. I completely emotionally relate to it.
Sure.
Gorgeous,
Okay.
gorgeous sound, as well as being blindingly brilliant too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm going to write that down. I've got my pen here. Tony Williams, Believe It.
Tony Williams' Lifetime, Believe It. Yeah, check it out. Play it loud. There's a track on there. They're all brilliant, but there's a track on there called Red Alert. Let me think. Oh, they're all great. They're all amazing.
Yeah. Nice. I'm gonna listen to that after the podcast.
Tracks. Yeah, you'll hear what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I'm sure I will. So you've got like so you've got those main influences and you obviously mentioned Joe Pass as well.
Yep.
Which I'm a very big fan of his as well.
Yeah.
So like what's your approach to practice and stuff? What do you mainly spend your time doing when you pick up a guitar? Do you gravitate towards certain things?
Let me see. So during lockdown, this is important for me. So during lockdown, we all have things that we can play, like little showcase things that we can play, but can we put them into context? So, you could play these things that you can show off to your friend out of a musical context. So all I did in lockdown was just take those things and fit them into a musical context. I just played rather than practice.
Right.
And played on these just one chord vamp backing tracks and just concentrated and listened to myself. What do I like to play? How do I like to sound? Let me work out how to fit this over this groove to fill the time.
Right.
So I do a lot of that. It's kind of unhealthy, I think, to just noodle forever,
Yeah.
Again, because you can do that, but then can you play it out live, and then you start thinking, oh, let me try and fit that into this situation, and it gets all a bit sticky and it doesn't work. If you just play a lot in context at home, then you'll learn how to do all that. So I do that. I play jazz standards at home just for the sheer challenge of it.
Yeah.
I do that. Yeah. Does that make sense? It's pretty much keep it simple.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense to me. I mean, like, I just identify with what you were saying. No matter how you go about doing it, from what it sounds like you were doing during lockdown was defining certain areas of what it is that you were doing and refining it, and we all had different ways of getting there and doing that process.
I was only playing what I could play and then stressing it within the context of performing.
Sure.
Not in a theory out of a musical situation.
Yeah.
So let me think of another way of explaining that. So if, say I wanted to practice economy picking, you could practice it out of musical context just here in front of you now, which is a guitar, and I might be able to do it. But can I do it in a real situation? So I just played in a real situation all the way through lockdown. I did live streams, just me doing that, for 10 minutes, 15 minute solos,
Yeah.
And only playing what could work, what works.
Sure.
Theory in my head of what I could do.
Yeah. But
expanding it all the time.
Yeah, got you. No,
So
no.
when I got to a gig, I was comfortable because it wasn't something that I thought I could do. I actually been doing it, at home.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
always stretching myself though.
Got you. No. That makes perfect sense. And you're not doing that thing that we've all done in the past, where you're kind of going, right, I've got this idea, I'm going to try and shoehorn it into this particular type of thing,
That's
and then
exactly.
it not quite fit. It's more, you are playing what feels good and sounds good on any particular feel, and
Yeah.
you're using your vocabulary
Yeah.
that you've got that's unique to you, and playing it in a way that sounds and feels good on a given time, feel or track
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yes.
instead of just going, all right, I've got this thing, I'm just going to do this. Yeah, which is a different.
100% absolutely right. So you're emotionally connected to what you're playing because you're only playing how you want to sound, but
Yeah,
you're only playing it when you've figured out how it's going to work on a given song, on a given feel. You're figuring out how to fit those things that you love into a proper situation. And I
sure.
just concentrated at only being in that situation and not
Yes,
noodling it and then thinking,
yes,
well, I'm going to force it here. And of course, it comes out crap. It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
the whole process. And it was a huge thing for me. So I'm still learning now, so I've still got the buzz energy to continue to stretch myself. And if you still have that excitement, you're always, doesn't matter how old you get, you're always going to improve.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about that now.
yeah,
I just put my phone on gigs, and I just by the side of me, and I'm just filming a lot of gigs, and just taking it home, and I can hear a development still. So I mean, I'm really buzzy.
yeah, yeah. No, it's a lifetime thing, isn't it?
That's
It's
what I
it.
love about it. That's what you
Yeah,
should never stop growing. You've got a tool in life that you can always get that stuff out of your system. So you should always pretty much be a pretty happy person, because you've got that escape.
yeah, yeah. That's it. We've got something that.
Release. You got that release.
Yeah, yeah, and it's something that not a lot of people have in that way. So to be able to do that, we're very lucky people to be able to engage with something on that level, and like you said, be able to release it, and hopefully, like we mentioned earlier, connect with the people that are on the receiving end of it.
Yeah, and the more you connect with people, I mean, lots of my best friends now are people that I've met in other towns
Right.
through playing gigs. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really great. So, for example, on Tuesday this week, we're in Bletchley, which is a bit of a hike. It's not too bad, but it's at least 3 hours there and 3 hours back. And people
Yeah.
going, "Oh, hi, Rob. Nice to see you." And they're telling me this, and I'm trying to figure out. Ooh, sorry, I don't say this. I'm thinking, "Oh, yeah, hi." I'm at
Yeah.
the same time I'm trying to figure out who they are. And there's
Yeah.
people that I've learned who they are, and they come and they say, "Well, Rob, last time I saw you, it was the 100 Club. Then I saw you when you were in Essex because I drove down to such a place." And I've made friends like that. Some of my best friends, on this in the music scene are through just gigging.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I've lost my point now, but it,
No, I've got you. Yeah, yeah,
we're talking about expressing ourselves. That's what it was. And
yeah,
making friends through doing your uncompromising music it just keeps feeding it for you to do more. You've got to
yeah,
get on track of getting feedback. It's the feedback that breaks you out of that continue looping, going nowhere cycle. It's getting other feedback,
mm,
other places. getting asked to do something slightly. I mean, I noticed the other day you played at the art centre in Dorchester with Tom and his band, and I'm assuming that gave you a buzz, and you had seated people in there. And I'm talking about that. That will push you to do that again and more of that, I guess.
Yeah,
And
for sure. Yeah,
that's the same for me. That's exactly the same for me.
yeah,
We've just maneuvered after doing it along, maneuvered ourselves into a position where we can open a few of those doors. You know, when you open one door, you can, there's a couple more, and then it grows. Hopefully, that's the plan.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely. I'm with you all the way there. That's what it should be about.
And you get a
And
track played on Radio 2, or you get a track played on Radio 3, and then that gives you another little step in a little skip in your stride, and you want to repeat.
yeah,
And you've got to look for that. You've got to put yourself in the way of that stuff if you can.
right. No, that's great advice, Rob. And I mean, having been around long enough to experience different things in music, I've
Yeah.
been aware of that, that principle that you move towards the things that give you that buzz and give you that drive, because that's what's going to keep the wheels in motion, isn't it? Is that,
next, are we in October? No, we're not in October. It's next month, but it's only around the corner. Zoe and I we're supporting as a duo. We're opening up for Albert Lee in Chelmsford, and the reason. So I noticed that gig was on, and of course, through all these other musical excursions, I know the promoter said. So I phoned him and said, can we do can we open up for that gig? And he said, "Oh, Rob, he doesn't normally have a support act, but let me check." Phone rings half an hour later. He said, "Yeah, come on, come and open up." Well, that happened because the promoter, I'd met him several times, lovely guy, and he knew how good we were, so we got the gig.
Wow. Yeah.
One door opens, another door opens, another door opens, another door. So, if you keep getting those buzzy little things happening, you'll keep buzzing.
Yeah, and it was in part because of all the work that you've done previously, and then it was also you had it where you sent the promoter a message. So you created opportunities by doing stuff that you've done previously and continuing all that stuff, but you were creating more opportunities by putting yourself out there and giving the promoter a call or a message and saying, "Hey, noticed Albert Lee's playing here. Does he need a support?" That wouldn't have happened without you either A, putting in the work previously on all the other shows you've done with the promoter, but also having the foresight to say, do you need a support act? Because you're not going to get that gig sometimes if you don't go and get it and message or whatever.
And we got it because we'd done good work for the promoter. He knew us and he'd heard us, and the the little bit of concrete we put under our feet, musical concrete that we developed over years of wearing our heart on our sleeve, just being willing to take everything that comes your way when you try to get your thing out there. The highs,
for sure.
The ups and the downs, and the bumps in the road, and the good bits and the not good bits, and you can't be scared of that. You've got to take it, and you've just got to do it. So
absolutely. All right, man. Well, that you sort of answered in a semi kind of way, because I was going to ask you next. What do you have coming up for Zoe Schwartz and the Blue Commotion? What's the things that you've got coming up?
Okay, so I haven't got my diary in front of me, and I don't remember all these things. But I noticed. I did notice this morning, because something else came in, that already next year we've got 8 kind of theatre gigs, and some of these are on that yearly cycle. already, spread out next year already, so that we've got this nice foundation of really good things happening.
Yeah.
Let me see, what else have we got? My brain, my memory. So but there's the website, zoeschwartzmusic.com. So they're all on there. So nice theatre.
Yeah.
And we started putting on a show called A Night of Blues and Boogie, and what that is an opening boogie woogie piano player, soloist, singing and playing New Orleans style, all that nice kind of stuff.
Right.
Then half an hour set, then an acoustic blues act, half an hour set, 15-minute interval, and then we come in with our 4-piece and do our set.
Yeah.
45-minute set, and then as the encore, all 7 musicians jam as the finale, and that's a very popular format that we've started taking around the country too.
Wow, nice.
Another way of just packaging something up that we can sell to promoters and attract a crowd, because there's 3 chances of being stuff that they like,
Right.
or well, not, but there's an appetizing musical palette, musical variety that they can think, well, some of that, some of that, and some of that. That sounds great.
Yeah, totally. That's you've what you're doing there, is you're not only increasing your chances of most people enjoying the evening. You're thinking about it in the terms that you've put it, which is a package. It's an entertainment evening package. It's not just, we're going to go just do a gig. Of course we have moments where we're thinking we're going to do gigs, and you can label it. It doesn't really matter, really, does it, how you label it? But in terms of how you think about it, you have got something there that's like a business package, and not just a gig, or it's
yes, exactly.
It's a way of doing it, and I love it. Okay, Rob. Well, that was it was great catching up with you and finding out about you and your music and your band. I could talk to you for probably another hour and get more out.
One other thing you asked me, which was I think you sort of combined it in a question about gear.
Yes.
All I do is plug into a PV Classic 30 with an extension cab. I don't have an array of pedals. I just have, obviously, I've got a crapped out old wah-wah pedal, and I've got the SD1, the Boss SD1 distortion pedal, which was the first one. It was like 40 quid brand new. That's all I have. I plug into the overdrive channel just with a little bit of break. So if you're playing a rhythm part, if you're pushing it, it will just break a bit. It's not clean.
Sure.
Just use the distortion as a gentle boost.
A little boost.
And that's it. Everything else is just being whacked up a bit.
Yeah, no, I love that no nonsense approach of not fiddling around with stuff. And I'm glad you brought up the gear, because I did want to talk about it, but I think during our previous conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago, I thought, I'm not going to get Rob to sit here and talk about his guitar gear when I could be asking in more interesting stuff about bands and music and stuff.
And approach to music and approach to getting it out there.
Yeah, because that to me is more interesting. But listen, the gear aspect of things, like it has its place. It's a part of your voice, and it serves its purpose, doesn't it? And some of us we strike upon something like yourself, that you've got a simple setup that works for you. And then other players seem to like going down rabbit holes with it all. And if it brings them some joy and they still manage to play well and do all the other stuff, then all the power to them, I guess. But
But you and I, we're not like Joe Pass, who an amplifier was just to make what he did louder. For us,
Yeah.
most of us, it's part of the sound we get.
For
And
sure.
that is what lets us do our thing to its full. If the sound's not right, it's pretty hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's the flip side of it. Yeah, for sure. Like I'm not. I've had my time periods where I've got what I would consider obsessive over gear.
Yeah.
And you know, I haven't been in that process for a while. But it's you know, I reflect on any of that stuff as semi useful now because it has allowed me to find things that I like.
Yeah.
But it's just more along the lines of now I don't view it as, because I feel like a lot of that stuff can be quite consumer based. You know, it's a market. There's lots of different shiny boxes that do different things, and you know each company has got a you know, it's in their business to sell products, and I feel like sometimes guitar players can get too caught up in the marketed sort of business side of things with gear, as opposed to, well, I want to create this kind of sound. You know, what tools can help me get there? But it's mostly, and I've found this to be true. It's these. It's your hands. It's your heart. It's your head. It's all those things. They're the conduits for the actual sounds. You know that the gear is just going to help you.
Yes. Your sound comes from your connection with the wood and the string.
Yeah,
that's it. And lots of people come up to you and go, "Oh, what's that you're playing?" Blah blah blah, and they think by buying the same gear they can make the same sound, which they can't. It's that old adage that a really good player can make something really not very good sound good, and somebody that's not very good can make really good gear sound just as now, you know. Anyway.
Yeah, 100%. I've had people like many times come up to me after gigs and go, oh, "Love the sound of that amp. That's a great amp." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." I've told them about it, and they come over and looked at it, and I've even had a couple of instances where someone said, "Can I have a go?" and which is not something I usually indulge in, but I have done it a couple of times. So I've said, "Yeah, go ahead, like have a little tinker," and they've kind of played it and then almost looked a little bit dejected afterwards. And I'm like, I didn't really say anything. I didn't say, "Oh no, it's in your hands" or whatever, but it is. You can't just expect just to pick up, you know, Alan Holdsworth's guitar and amp and then sound like Alan Holdsworth. It's him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. All right, Rob. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. And yeah, no, we've got some good stuff there, and hopefully I'll get to see you guys play live soon.
Yes. And vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll let you know some stuff that isn't too far from you, and I'll hopefully see you soon.
Great, George. Nice talking to you.
And you, Rob. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.